I'm sitting here at 3 in the morning, staring at my computer screen, my hand trembling over the mouse. The light from the bank account page is the only thing illuminating my kitchen. Blue light, cold light, and there on the screen, transaction after transaction, withdrawal after withdrawal, all of them going to the same account, my daughter's account. The account I set up for her when she turned 18, the one I've been putting money into for years, thinking I was helping her build a future, thinking I was being a good mother. But 12 hours ago, she looked me straight in the eye and said the words that broke something inside me. I don't care about you, Mom. You already lived your life. Now it's my turn. Just like that. No apology. No hesitation. Like I was nothing more than an ATM machine that had finally started asking too many questions. How does a mother end up being erased by her own daughter in front of everyone like she never mattered at all? What does a woman do when she discovers that the person she sacrificed everything for is the same person threatening to take away her home, her savings, and her dignity? And how far can you keep losing pieces of yourself for love before there's nothing left to lose? I spent 32 years working at the bank. Started as a teller when Elena was just a baby, worked my way up to branch manager by the time she graduated high school. I know numbers. I understand interest rates, compound growth, retirement accounts, what happens when you drain your savings too fast. I could calculate mortgage payments in my head while helping a customer fill out paperwork. But somehow, when it came to my own daughter, I couldn't see the numbers adding up to disaster. I couldn't see that every time I said yes to her, every time I transferred money to cover her rent, her car payment, her credit card bills, her shopping sprees, I was teaching her that I had no value except what I could provide. My husband Luis used to warn me. Before the cancer took him 3 years ago, he'd sit at this same kitchen table and say, "Marta, you're not helping her. You're crippling her. She needs to learn to stand on her own." But I couldn't hear it then. I thought I was being generous. I thought I was being loving. I thought if I just gave enough, she'd eventually see how much I cared, and she'd want to be close to me again, the way she was when she was little. The house is quiet around me now. This house where Luis and I raised Elena, where we celebrated birthdays and holidays, where we paid off the mortgage year by year with our paychecks, putting away a little bit every month into savings, planning for retirement, for Social Security to kick in, for the pension from the bank, for the little nest egg we built so carefully. This house that Elena now wants me to sell so she can have her share of the inheritance early. That's what tonight's fight was about. She showed up with her boyfriend Marco, the one who's always talking about investment opportunities and cryptocurrency and ways to make fast money. They sat right there at the dining room table and told me I should sell the house, split the money with her now, and move into a smaller apartment. "You don't need all this space, Mom," she said, gesturing around like my home was some kind of burden instead of the place where every memory of my life lives in the walls. "It's just sitting here collecting dust. We could do so much with that money." I asked her what exactly she planned to do with it. That's when her face changed. That's when she said it. "I don't care about you, Mom. You already lived your life. Now it's my turn." If this story has already touched your heart, subscribe now, leave a like, and tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. I grew up with nothing. My mother cleaned houses and my father worked construction, and they taught me that you earn what you have, you save what you can, and you protect your family above everything else. When Luis and I got married, we lived in a tiny studio apartment and shared one car between us. We ate rice and beans most nights. We didn't take vacations. Every extra dollar went into the down payment fund for a house. It took us 7 years to save enough. 7 years of saying no to things we wanted, of working overtime, of bringing lunch from home instead of buying it, of wearing the same clothes until they wore out. When we finally bought this house, Elena was 5 years old. I remember carrying her through the front door that first day, her little arms around my neck, her voice saying, "Is this really ours, Mommy?" And I told her, "Yes, sweetheart, this is ours, and nobody can ever take it away from us." I promised her that. I promised her a stable home, a place that would always be here, roots that would hold no matter what storms came. But apparently, promises only matter when they come with money attached. The problem started about 5 years ago, right after Elena graduated from college. She got a degree in marketing, but she didn't want to start at entry level anywhere. She wanted to jump straight to the lifestyle she'd seen on social media, the influencer life, the easy money, the fancy restaurants and designer bags. She moved in with Marco, who talked a good game about being an entrepreneur but never seemed to actually work anywhere for more than a few months. The rent for their apartment was more than my mortgage payment. I told her it was too much, that she should find something cheaper until she established her career. She cried on the phone. She said I didn't understand how important it was to live in the right neighborhood, to make the right connections, to present the right image, so I helped her with the first month's rent. Just this once, I told myself, just to get her started. But once became twice. Twice became a regular thing. And within a year, I was basically paying half her bills every month. She always had a reason. The marketing job didn't work out. The freelance clients weren't paying on time. Marco's business was about to take off, but needed one more investment. Her car broke down. She needed new clothes for interviews. The reasons were endless, and I kept saying yes, because I was her mother. And isn't that what mothers do? Luis saw it before I did. He pulled up our bank statements one night, 6 months before he got sick, and showed me the numbers. Marta, look at this. We've given her almost $40,000 in the last 2 years. Our retirement savings is half what it should be. We're dipping into the emergency fund every month. I got defensive. I told him she was going through a rough patch, that things would get better, that she'd pay us back once she got on her feet. He looked at me with those sad eyes and said, "She's not going to get on her feet if we keep carrying her. And when we're gone, what's she going to do then?" I told him not to talk like that. I told him we had plenty of time, that he was being dramatic, that Elena just needed a little more support. 3 months later, he was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 6 months after that, he was gone. And with his last words to me, holding my hand in that hospice bed, he said, "Don't let her take everything, Marta. Promise me. The house is your security. Don't let anyone pressure you into giving it up." I promised him. But I didn't understand then what he meant. I didn't know he'd seen something in Elena that I was still refusing to see. After Luis died, Elena's demands got worse. She wanted her inheritance immediately. She kept saying that money sitting in accounts wasn't doing anybody any good, that Luis would have wanted her to be happy, that I was being selfish by holding on to everything. I tried to explain that the life insurance money was for my retirement, that the pension wasn't enough to live on by itself, that I needed savings for medical expenses, for emergencies, for the future. She'd nod and seem to understand, but then a week later, she'd be back with another crisis, another urgent need. The pattern kept repeating, and the neighborhood started to notice. Mrs. Chen next door, who'd known Elena since she was a baby, asked me one day if everything was okay. She'd seen Elena and Marco loading my good china into their car, the set my mother had given me when I got married. Elena had told me she wanted to borrow it for a dinner party. Mrs. Chen said gently, "Marta, that looked more like taking than borrowing." I made excuses. I said Elena was just holding on to it for me since I never used it anymore. But Mrs. Chen's face told me she didn't believe me, and worse, that she pitied me. Then came the discovery about the casino. It was my friend Rosa who told me. She'd seen Elena there on a Saturday night, at the tables, playing blackjack with stacks of chips in front of her. Marco was next to her, drinking expensive whiskey, both of them laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. This was 2 days after Elena had called me crying about not having money for groceries. 2 days after I'd transferred $500 into her account. Rosa was gentle when she told me. She held my hand across the coffee shop table and said, "Marta, I think you need to know what's really going on." I felt sick. I went home, and I looked at Elena's social media for the first time in months. There she was, dressed in clothes I knew cost more than my monthly pension, at restaurants where a single meal cost what I spent on groceries for a week, posing next to expensive cars, talking about manifestation and abundance and living your best life. All of it funded by me. All of it while telling me she was struggling. I tried to talk to her about it the next time she called asking for money. I said I'd heard she'd been at the casino, and maybe she needed to look at her priorities. She exploded. She screamed at me about boundaries and respect, and how dare I spy on her, and she was an adult who could do whatever she wanted with her own money. I said, "But Elena, it's my money you're spending." That's when she hung up on me. She didn't call for 2 weeks. Then when she finally did, it was like nothing had happened. She was sweet again, apologetic, said she'd been stressed, said she loved me, and then she asked for money to cover her credit card payment, $3,000. I hesitated. For the first time, I actually hesitated. She heard it in my silence and her voice changed, got hard. She said, Mom, I need this. Are you really going to let your own daughter's credit get ruined because you want to hoard money you're never even going to use? You're 72 years old. What are you saving it for? Like my age was a death sentence, like I should just give up and hand everything over because my time was done, but I sent the money anyway. I always sent the money. But now, everything's different. Because tonight, when she demanded I sell the house, when she said those words about not caring about me, when she looked at me like I was an obstacle instead of her mother, something inside me finally broke open. Or maybe it finally healed. I'm not sure which. After she left, after Marco gave me that smug little smile, and they walked out my front door, I sat here in the dark for an hour just breathing. And then I turned on my computer. I logged into the bank. I looked at every account, every transaction, every statement. I calculated what I've given her over the past 5 years. $73,000. That's more than Luis and I spent on our entire wedding, our honeymoon, and the down payment on this house combined. $73,000 that could have been earning interest, that could have been securing my future, that could have been left as a real inheritance when I'm actually gone instead of being gambled away at a casino while my daughter pretends to be an influencer. And I thought about what Luis said. Don't let her take everything. The house is your security. So I'm making a decision right now, at 3 a.m, with my hand steady over the mouse. The joint account I set up for Elena years ago, the one where I deposit money for her regularly, the one she can access any time, I'm going to close it. Not out of anger, not to punish her, but to save myself, to finally set a boundary that means something. I click through the screens, following the prompts, confirming my identity, authorizing the closure. It takes less than 5 minutes to end 5 years of enabling. The account will be frozen by morning. Any automatic transfers will be blocked. She won't be able to withdraw another dollar. And I know what's going to happen next. I know she's going to call. I know she's going to rage and cry and tell me I'm a terrible mother, that I'm abandoning her, that I'm cruel. Or maybe she'll try the sweet approach again, the apologies and the promises and the manipulation. But for the first time in 5 years, I'm going to say no. I'm going to hold the line. I'm going to remember that loving someone doesn't mean destroying yourself to prop them up. What happens when a daughter who thought the money would never run out suddenly has to face reality? What will she do when nobody's there to catch her every fall? And can a mother find peace in letting her child struggle if it's the only way for both of them to survive? The sun is starting to come up. I can see gray light creeping through the kitchen window. I haven't slept at all, but I don't feel tired. I feel clear. I feel like I've been underwater for years and I'm finally breaking the surface. I make myself a cup of coffee, the cheap kind from the supermarket, not the fancy stuff Elena always insisted I buy for her when she visited. I sit at the table where Luis and I used to plan our budget every Sunday morning, and I wait. The closure will be processed by 9 a.m. By 9:15, Elena will try to use her debit card somewhere, and it will be declined. By 9:30, my phone will start ringing. I wonder how many times she'll call. I wonder what she'll say. I wonder if she'll ever understand that this isn't about the money at all. It's about finally admitting that I can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved, and that trying to do it anyway will only drown us both. My phone is sitting on the table in front of me, screen dark, silent. I stare at it like it's a bomb waiting to go off. And then right at 9:27, it lights up. Elena's name flashes on the screen. Her photo, the one from her college graduation, where she's smiling and hugging me, and I'm so proud I could burst. That photo feels like it's from another lifetime now. I let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. It goes to voicemail. 10 seconds later, it rings again. I don't answer. It rings again, and again, and again. By 10 o'clock, I've had 14 calls from Elena and 6 text messages. The messages start out confused. Mom, something's wrong with the account. Can you check on it? Then they get more urgent. Mom, I really need you to call the bank. My card isn't working and I have bills due today. Then angry. I know you're seeing these messages. This isn't funny. Call me back right now. And finally, the one that would have worked on me yesterday. Mom, please, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I need you. But I don't call her back. Instead, I call my lawyer, Thomas Morrison. He's been our family attorney since before Elena was born. He handled our wills when Luis got sick, helped us set up the trust, managed the estate paperwork after the funeral. He's a kind man, mid-60s, silver hair, always wearing bow ties. He sounds surprised to hear from me. I tell him I need to come in today if possible. There's something urgent I need to discuss about my will and about protections for my assets. He hears something in my voice, and he doesn't ask questions. He just says, "I can see you at 2 o'clock, Marta. Come to my office." I thank him and hang up. The phone immediately rings again. Elena, call number 15. I silence it and put the phone face down on the table. Mrs. Chen knocks on my door around 11. She's brought me homemade dumplings like she does every few weeks, but I can tell that's not the real reason for the visit. She's heard the gossip. Everyone in the neighborhood has. They've all seen Elena and Marco coming and going, packing things into their car, the arguments on the front lawn, the way I've started to look smaller and grayer over the past few years while my daughter's been looking more and more expensive. Mrs. Chen sits across from me at the kitchen table and doesn't waste time with small talk. "I saw Elena's car here last night," she says carefully. "I heard shouting. Are you okay?" I tell her the truth. I tell her everything. About the money, the casino, the demand that I sell my house, the words Elena said to me. Mrs. Chen's face goes through a journey, shock and anger and sadness. When I tell her I closed the account this morning, her eyes fill with tears. "Marta," she says, "I'm so sorry you had to do that, but I'm proud of you." Those words, simple as they are, crack something open in my chest. Someone is proud of me, not for giving, not for sacrificing, but for finally standing up for myself. By noon, Elena has called 23 times. The texts have evolved into full paragraphs. She's telling me that she's going to be evicted, that Marco left her when he found out she had no money, that her phone is about to be shut off, that she has no food, that this is all my fault for being selfish and controlling. She says I'm a narcissist, that I've always tried to manipulate her with money, that she's going to tell everyone what a terrible mother I've been. The irony would be funny if it didn't hurt so much. I'm the narcissist for finally saying no after 5 years of yes. I'm the controlling one for refusing to hand over my home. I'm the terrible mother for not continuing to enable her addiction to easy money. I think about texting back. I think about explaining, defending, justifying. But what would be the point? She's not interested in understanding. She's interested in getting what she wants. And for the first time, I'm interested in something more important than her approval. I'm interested in my own survival. At Thomas Morrison's office, I sit across from his big mahogany desk, and I tell him everything. He listens without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad, his face growing more serious as the story unfolds. When I finish, he's quiet for a long moment. Then he says, "Marta, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Has Elena ever threatened you physically? Has she or Marco ever tried to intimidate you or make you afraid?" I think about it. The answer is no. Elena's weapons are words and tears and guilt, not fists. I tell him that. He nods. Good. That makes this cleaner from a legal standpoint. Now what do you want to do? I tell him I want to protect the house. I want to make sure that no matter what happens, Elena can't force me to sell it while I'm alive. I want to update my will so that when I do eventually pass away, the house goes into a trust that can't be liquidated immediately, that will provide for Elena, but won't let her gamble it all away in a year. I want to make sure I have enough money to live on for the rest of my life without having to depend on anyone. Thomas starts sketching out options. We can put the house in a living trust with me as the trustee. We can restructure my will with conditions on the inheritance. We can set up automatic payments from my accounts to cover my bills, so Elena can't pressure me about sitting on unused money. He mentions something about a revocable living trust that would protect the house from being considered an asset if I ever need Medicaid for long-term care. He talks about beneficiary designations on my bank accounts and retirement funds. My head is spinning with the technical language, but I understand the core message. There are ways to protect myself legally. There are ways to make sure that my future is secure, even if my relationship with my daughter isn't. We schedule a follow-up appointment for next week to sign the new documents. As I'm leaving, Thomas says something that stays with me. "Marta, you're doing the right thing. I've seen too many elderly clients lose everything because they couldn't say no to their children. The ones who survive with their dignity intact are the ones who set boundaries early. But this doesn't feel early. This feels like the last possible moment before going over a cliff. The calls keep coming. By evening, Elena has called 28 times. 28. I haven't answered once. The texts have stopped, though. Either her phone got shut off like she threatened, or she's realized that the crying and begging and guilt-tripping isn't working anymore. Around 7 p.m., there's a knock on my door. I look through the peephole, and my heart sinks. It's Elena. She's standing on my front porch, and she looks terrible. Hair unbrushed, mascara smudged, wearing sweatpants and an old college hoodie. Nothing designer about her now. For a moment, the mother in me wants to throw open the door and pull her into my arms and tell her everything will be okay. But I don't. Instead, I open the door just a crack, with the chain still on, and I say calmly, "Elena, I'm not going to discuss this with you right now." She starts crying immediately. Not the manipulative crying I've seen before, but something that looks almost real. "Mom, please just talk to me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what I said. I didn't mean it. I was just stressed and I took it out on you and I'm sorry. Please let me in." I want to believe her. God, I want to believe her. But I'm 72 years old, and I've learned that the most dangerous lies are the ones we tell ourselves. So I say, "Elena, I love you, but I can't keep doing this. I can't keep giving you money so you can throw it away. I can't keep sacrificing my security for your comfort. I've closed the joint account. I've spoken to my lawyer. The house is protected. If you want to have a relationship with me, a real relationship, then we can work on that. But the money stops now." Her face changes instantly. The tears dry up like they were never real. Her voice goes hard and cold. "You're really going to do this to me? Your own daughter? Fine. I hope you're happy living in your perfect little house, all alone with all your precious money. When you die alone and nobody comes to your funeral, you'll have nobody to blame but yourself." She turns and walks away, gets in her car, and drives off fast enough that the tires screech. I stand there in the doorway, shaking, and I realize that Luis was right. She wasn't going through a rough patch. This is who she's become. Maybe this is who she always was, and I just didn't want to see it. Mrs. Chen is on her porch. She watched the whole thing. She comes over and stands next to me without saying anything, just her presence there, and we watch the taillights of Elena's car disappear around the corner. "You're going to be okay," Mrs. Chen says finally. "This hurts now, but you're going to be okay." I nod because I can't speak. I go back inside, and I close the door, and I lock it. The house feels different now, quieter, emptier, but also safer. Like I've reclaimed something that had been slowly slipping away from me. That night, I dream about Luis. We're young again, looking at houses, planning our future. He takes my hand and says, "We're going to build something good, Marta. Something nobody can take away from us." I wake up crying, but they're not entirely sad tears. They're the kind of tears that come when something toxic is finally leaving your body. The next few days are strange. No calls from Elena, no texts, nothing. It's like she's disappeared. Part of me is relieved. Part of me is terrified that something bad has happened to her. But Rosa reminds me during one of our coffee dates that Elena is an adult. She has Marco, she has friends, she has resources. She's not helpless. She's just finally being forced to face consequences for the first time in her life. "You're not responsible for fixing her," Rosa says firmly. "You're only responsible for not letting her destroy you." I repeat that to myself like a mantra. I'm not responsible for fixing her. I'm only responsible for not letting her destroy you. But being a mother makes that distinction feel impossible some days. The guilt tries to creep back in. What if she really is in trouble? What if she needs me and I'm not there? What if I'm being too harsh? But then I remember her face when she said, "I don't care about you. You already lived your life." And I remember that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back and let someone fall so they can learn to get back up on their own. The neighborhood gossip mill is working overtime. Mrs. Patterson from 3 doors down stops me at the mailbox and says in that fake concerned voice, "Marta, dear, I heard Elena moved out of her apartment. Is everything all right with you too?" I know what she's really asking. She wants the dirt. She wants the drama. She wants something to talk about over Bridge Club. I smile and say simply, "We're working through some things, but I'm doing just fine. Thank you for your concern." It feels good to keep my business private. It feels good not to make excuses or explain or justify. What happens in my family is my family's business, not entertainment for the neighbors, though I know some of them are on my side. Mrs. Chen and Rosa and old Mr. Jimenez, who's lived across the street for 40 years. They've all seen what's been happening. They've all tried to warn me in their own gentle ways. Now they just nod at me with respect when we cross paths, and that means more than all the fake concern in the world. Thomas calls me a week later to confirm our appointment to sign the new documents, but he also has news. He says there's been some unusual activity that he wanted to make me aware of. Someone has been making inquiries about my property with the county assessor's office, asking about the deed, the valuation, whether there are any liens or mortgages. He had a colleague who works at the courthouse give him a heads up. It might be nothing, Thomas says, but given everything you've told me, I wanted you to know. I feel cold all over. Someone is looking into my house. I ask if he knows who. He says the inquiries were made online, so there's no way to trace them definitively, but the timing is suspicious. Marta, has Elena ever had access to your personal documents? Birth certificate? Social security card? Property deed? I think back. Years ago, when she was helping me organize files after Luis died, she had access to everything. She even made copies of important documents to keep at her place, just in case, she'd said. Just in case of what, I wonder now. Just in case she needed to forge my signature? Just in case she wanted to try to sell my house out from under me? I tell Thomas about the document copying. His face goes grim. We need to move faster on this, he says. I'm going to recommend we record a homestead declaration and put an alert on your credit. If someone tries to take out a loan or mortgage in your name, or if there's any attempt to transfer the deed, you'll be notified immediately. I'm also going to prepare a formal letter to Elena, attorney to individual, making it clear that any attempt to access your assets without your express written consent will be considered fraud and will be prosecuted accordingly. This is real now. This isn't just hurt feelings or family drama. This is my daughter potentially trying to commit fraud against me. My own child, the one I carried in my body for 9 months. The one I nursed through midnight fevers and taught to ride a bike and put through college. The one who apparently sees me as nothing more than an obstacle between her and what she thinks she deserves. How did we get here? When did love turn into this cold calculation? And why didn't I see it happening until it was almost too late? But I sign every document Thomas puts in front of me. The homestead declaration, the credit monitoring authorization, the revocable living trust, the updated will with its careful conditions and protections. Each signature feels like I'm building a wall around myself, brick by brick, not to keep Elena out of my life, but to keep her from taking the foundation out from under me. Thomas walks me through every clause, every protection, every contingency. If I become incapacitated, the trustee he recommended, a neutral third party from a trust management company, will take over my affairs. Elena can't swoop in with a power of attorney. If I die, the house doesn't go directly to her. It goes into the trust, which will sell it at fair market value and put the money into a structured account that pays her a set amount monthly for 20 years. She can't blow through it all in a year. She can't gamble it away or let Marco convince her to invest it in some scam. Luis's legacy, our life's work, will be protected even after I'm gone. When I leave Thomas's office with copies of all the new documents in a folder, I feel lighter and heavier at the same time. Lighter because I've done something real to protect myself. Heavier because of what it means about my relationship with my daughter. That evening, sitting in my living room with a cup of tea, I let myself cry for the first time since this started. Not the quiet tears I've been holding back, but real, body-shaking sobs. I cry for the little girl Elena used to be, the one who believed I could fix anything. I cry for the relationship we used to have, or the relationship I thought we had. I cry for Luis, who saw this coming and tried to warn me and I didn't listen. I cry for myself, for all the years I spent trying to buy love instead of requiring respect. And when the tears finally stop, I feel empty in a clean way, like I've washed something out that needed to go. 2 weeks pass, then 3. No word from Elena. I go about my life. I have coffee with Rosa. I tend my garden. I volunteer at the library on Tuesday mornings. I go to church on Sundays. I cook simple meals for myself, and I don't apologize to anyone for my existence. And slowly, very slowly, I start to remember what it felt like to not be constantly anxious about money. My pension and Social Security cover my bills with room to spare, especially now that I'm not supporting a second household. My savings start to rebuild. I watch the numbers in my account go up instead of down for the first time in 5 years. It feels strange. It feels like I'm doing something wrong by not giving it away, but I'm learning to sit with that discomfort. I'm learning that it's okay to have enough. It's okay to protect my future. It's okay to say no. These are lessons I should have learned decades ago, but better late than never, I suppose. Then one day, my doorbell rings. I'm not expecting anyone. I look through the peephole and I see a young man in a suit holding a folder. My heart starts pounding. Is this a process server? Is Elena suing me for something? I open the door cautiously. The young man smiles. Are you Marta Reyes? I nod. I'm Kevin Chen, Mrs. Chen's grandson. She asked me to stop by and talk to you. I'm a family law attorney. I'm confused, but I invite him in. We sit in the living room and he explains. His grandmother told him what's been happening. He wanted me to know that if Elena tries any legal action against me, challenging the trust, or claiming I was coerced or mentally incompetent or anything like that, he'll represent me pro bono. My grandmother says you're one of the good ones, Kevin says, and I've seen too many elderly people get taken advantage of by their own kids. What you did took courage. Most people can't do it. They'd rather lose everything than face the guilt of saying no. He gives me his card and tells me to call him if I need anything at all. After he leaves, I go next door and hug Mrs. Chen, and we both cry a little. This is what family is supposed to be. People who show up when you need them, not people who only call when they want something. A month after I closed the account, I get a letter. Not from Elena, from Marco. It's handwritten on yellow legal pad paper, barely legible, and it's full of threats. He says I'm a bitter old woman who's trying to ruin Elena's life out of jealousy. He says they know I'm planning to cut her out of the will and they're going to fight it. He says I'm going to end up in a nursing home with nobody who cares about me and they'll make sure I get exactly what I deserve. He signs it with just his first name, like we're friends, like he has any right to speak to me this way. I take the letter to Thomas Morrison. He reads it, his jaw tightening with every line, and then he says calmly, "This is harassment. Potentially, it's extortion, depending on how we want to interpret the threats. I'm going to draft a cease and desist letter. If Marco or Elena contact you again with threats, we'll consider a restraining order." I never thought I'd need a restraining order against my own daughter. But here we are. This is what my life has become. Legal documents and lawyers' letters and protection orders. Because I dared to stop letting myself be used. Because I finally chose self-preservation over martyrdom. But something unexpected happens. About 6 weeks after I close the account, I get a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answer it. It's not Elena. It's my grandson, Carlos, Elena's son from a brief relationship when she was in her early 20s. He was raised mostly by his father, Elena's ex, and I've only seen him a handful of times over the years at holidays and birthdays. He's 19 now, a sophomore in college. His voice is nervous on the phone. "Grandma Marta, it's Carlos. I heard about what's been going on with you and my mom. I wanted to call and tell you that I get it. I understand why you did what you did. Mom called me asking if I could lend her money, and when I said I didn't have any, she said some pretty awful things to me too. I just wanted you to know that you're not alone, and I'd like to come visit you sometime if that's okay." I'm crying again, but this time they're good tears. My grandson, the child Elena barely had time for because she was always too busy chasing the next thrill, the next party, the next chance at easy money. He wants to visit me. He understands. We make plans for the following Sunday. When Carlos shows up at my door that Sunday, he's tall and handsome and looks so much like Luis that my heart squeezes. He's carrying a bouquet of cheap grocery store flowers, and he's wearing khakis and a button-down shirt like he wanted to make a good impression. We sit in the living room, and we talk, really talk. He tells me about his classes, his girlfriend, his plans to become a teacher. He tells me about his dad, Elena's ex, who's been a stable, loving parent his whole life, despite Elena's chaos. He tells me that he's always known his mom wasn't like other moms, that even when he was little, he understood that she cared more about herself than about him, and that his dad protected him from the worst of it. "I used to wonder if it was my fault," Carlos says quietly. "If I wasn't good enough or interesting enough to make her want to stay around. But Dad helped me understand that some people just aren't capable of putting others first. It's not about their kids being unlovable. It's about them being unable to love beyond their own needs. This 19-year-old boy has more wisdom than his mother will ever have. We spend the afternoon together. I make him Luis's favorite meal, arroz con pollo, and Carlos asks me to teach him how to cook it. We stand side by side in the kitchen, and I show him how to season the chicken, how to get the rice just right, how to layer the flavors, and it feels like healing, like something broken is starting to mend. Not the relationship with Elena, maybe that's beyond repair, but the legacy, the thread that connects one generation to the next, that's still there, that's still possible. After dinner, Carlos notices Luis's old chess set on the bookshelf. "My dad taught me to play," he says. "Would you want to play a game?" We set up the board and we play, and even though I haven't played chess in 3 years, muscle memory takes over. Luis taught me when we were dating. He said chess teaches you to think ahead, to see the consequences of your moves before you make them. I wish I'd applied that wisdom to my relationship with Elena sooner, but I'm applying it now. Every move counts. Every decision has ripples. And sometimes the smartest move is the one that looks like retreat, but is actually protection. Carlos wins the game, but I don't mind. As he's getting ready to leave, he gives me a long hug and says, "Thank you for today, Grandma. Can I come back next week?" I tell him yes, of course, anytime he wants. He can have a key if he'd like. This house will always be open to him. After he leaves, I sit in the quiet living room, and I realize something important. I didn't lose everything when I set boundaries with Elena. I made room for something real, something honest, something that doesn't require me to buy affection with money. My grandson wants to know me not because of what I can give him, but because of who I am. That's worth more than $73,000. That's worth more than keeping the peace by bankrupting myself. That's worth the pain of facing the truth about Elena. But the peace doesn't last. 2 months after closing the account, I get a notice in the mail. It's from family court. Elena has filed a petition. She's claiming that I'm mentally incompetent and that she should be appointed as my guardian with full control over my finances and property. She submitted a statement from a doctor I've never heard of, saying I'm showing signs of dementia. She's claiming that my recent erratic behavior, including cutting off her access to money and changing my will, is evidence that I'm not in my right mind and that I'm being unduly influenced by outsiders who want to isolate me from my family. It's all lies, every word. But it's also terrifying because these cases sometimes work. I've read articles about elderly people who lose their autonomy because a family member convinces a judge they're incompetent. I call Thomas Morrison immediately. His voice is tight with anger when I tell him, "This is exactly what I was afraid of," he says. "Marta, I need you to get a full cognitive evaluation from your primary care physician. We need documentation that you're completely competent. We're going to fight this hard." The next few weeks are a blur of doctor's appointments, cognitive tests, interviews with social workers assigned by the court. They ask me to remember lists of words, to draw clocks, to answer questions about current events, to manage my finances in front of them. It's humiliating. It's invasive. And it's all because my daughter would rather have me declared incompetent than accept that I have the right to say no to her. But I pass every test. My doctor writes a strong letter stating that I'm in excellent mental health for my age, that I'm managing my own affairs competently, that there's no evidence of dementia or cognitive impairment. Thomas gathers statements from Mrs. Chen, from Rosa, from the librarians I volunteer with, from my bank manager who's known me for decades. Everyone confirms the same thing. I'm sharp, capable, and making my own decisions. Kevin Chen, Mrs. Chen's grandson, files a motion to dismiss the petition as frivolous and abusive, and we wait for the court date. The hearing is on a Thursday morning in November. I dress carefully in a navy suit I haven't worn since I retired, the one I used to wear to important meetings at the bank. I want to look competent, put together, clear-headed. Thomas meets me at the courthouse. Kevin Chen is there too, as backup counsel. We sit in the cold hallway outside the courtroom, and I'm shaking despite trying to appear calm. And then Elena arrives with her lawyer, some slick-looking guy in an expensive suit who probably cost her more money she doesn't have. She doesn't look at me. She walks past like I'm not there, whispering with her attorney. My heart breaks all over again. This is my daughter, the child I raised, and she's trying to take away my freedom, my autonomy, my right to control my own life, all because I stopped giving her money. How did love turn into this? How did we get so lost? The judge is a woman in her 60s, Judge Patricia Delgado. She has kind eyes but a firm voice. She calls the courtroom to order and asks Elena's lawyer to present his case. He stands up and he paints a picture of me as a confused elderly woman who's being manipulated by neighbors and attorneys who want to isolate me from my loving daughter. He presents the questionable medical statement, which Thomas immediately objects to, since I've never been a patient of that doctor. He claims that my sudden change in behavior, closing accounts, and changing my will is evidence of diminished capacity. He says Elena is concerned about her mother's well-being and only wants to protect me. It takes everything in me not to stand up and scream, but I stay seated. I stay quiet. I let Thomas do his job, and he does it well. He presents my medical evaluations. He presents the cognitive test results. He presents my work history as a bank manager. He presents statements from people who know me. And then he does something I didn't expect. He presents a detailed financial analysis of the past 5 years, showing exactly how much money I gave Elena and how it was spent. The casino visits, the luxury purchases, the pattern of crisis to crisis begging, the threats in Marco's letter. The timeline of Elena's demands, culminating in the demand that I sell my house. He lays it all out in black and white, numbers and dates and evidence. Judge Delgado's face changes as she reads through the documents. She looks up at Elena. "Ms. Reyes, I'm reading here that you told your mother, and I quote, 'I don't care about you. You already lived your life. Now it's my turn.' Is that accurate?" Elena's face goes pale. She glances at her lawyer, who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. Elena stammers, I was upset. It was taken out of context." The judge's expression hardens. "What context makes it acceptable to tell your mother she doesn't matter because she's lived her life?" Silence. Elena has no answer. Judge Delgado continues. "I'm also seeing evidence of financial exploitation, evidence of threats, evidence of attempting to access your mother's property records without her permission. Ms. Reyes, this petition appears to be retaliation against your mother for setting reasonable financial boundaries. This is an abuse of the court system, and I will not allow it." She looks at me directly. "Mrs. Reyes, I've reviewed your medical evaluations and testimony from multiple sources. You are clearly competent to manage your own affairs. This petition is dismissed. Furthermore, I'm ordering that Ms. Elena Reyes be prohibited from filing any further petitions regarding your competency or guardianship without showing clear and convincing new evidence of incapacity. Do you understand, Ms. Reyes?" This last part is directed at Elena, who nods mutely, tears streaming down her face, but I can't tell if they're real tears of remorse or just tears of losing. Thomas walks me out of the courthouse afterward, and he's trying not to smile too widely because he knows this is still painful for me, despite the victory. "You did it, Marta," he says. "You protected yourself. You stood up for your rights." And the judge saw right through the manipulation. I nod, but I don't feel victorious. I feel sad, because this was my daughter I had to defend myself against in court. My child. Kevin Chen walks with us to the parking lot, and he says something wise for someone so young. "Mrs. Reyes, you gave Elena something today that's more valuable than money. You gave her consequences. You gave her the chance to learn that her actions have results. Maybe she'll never understand that, but maybe someday she will. And if she does, it'll be because you loved her enough to stop enabling her." I hope he's right, but right now, I just feel tired. Bone tired. The kind of tired that comes from fighting when you wish you could just rest. That evening, I'm sitting on my porch watching the sunset when a car pulls into my driveway. It's not Elena. It's Carlos. He gets out and he's carrying his backpack and he looks uncertain. "I heard about the court thing," he says. "Dad told me. I know you probably want to be alone, but I thought maybe you could use some company. And I was hoping maybe you could teach me more of Luis's recipes, if that's okay." My throat closes up with emotion. This boy, this young man, he shows up when it matters. We go inside, and I teach him how to make Luis's famous flan, the one with the caramel that's tricky to get just right. We work side by side in the kitchen, and we don't talk about Elena or the hearing or the money or any of it. We just cook, and we talk about his classes and his girlfriend and his dreams for the future. And by the time the flan is setting in the refrigerator and Carlos is getting ready to head back to campus, I realize that this is what legacy really means. It's not about money in a bank account. It's not about a house that gets sold and divided. It's about teaching someone how to make flan. It's about passing down recipes and stories and chess strategies. It's about showing up for each other when it counts. 3 months pass. Winter settles in. I spend Christmas quietly with Rosa and her family. Carlos visits for New Year's and brings his girlfriend, a sweet girl named Amy, who wants to be a nurse. Mrs. Chen invites me to her granddaughter's wedding. I'm building a life that doesn't revolve around Elena's crises and demands. I'm building a life that's mine. And it's small and simple and quiet, but it's peaceful in a way I haven't experienced in years. My savings are growing again. I'm thinking about maybe taking a trip in the spring, something Luis and I always talked about but never did. Maybe I'll go see the Grand Canyon. Maybe I'll take Carlos with me if he has time between semesters. Maybe I'll just go by myself, and that will be okay too. I'm learning that being alone is different from being lonely, and that sometimes the people who love you are the ones who let you stand on your own 2 feet instead of carrying you. But then in February, 6 months after I closed the account, and 4 months after the court hearing, my doorbell rings late one evening. I almost don't answer because it's dark and I'm already in my pajamas, but something makes me check the peephole. It's Elena. She's alone. No Marco. She looks different, thinner. Her hair is pulled back in a simple ponytail, no fancy styling. She's wearing jeans and a regular jacket, not designer anything. And her face looks different too. Less makeup. More tired. More real. I stand there with my hand on the doorknob for a long moment trying to decide what to do. Part of me wants to let her stand out there in the cold, the way she left me out in the cold, emotionally for years. But I'm not her. I'm not going to turn into someone cruel just because I've learned to set boundaries. So I open the door, not all the way, just enough to see her clearly. Elena, I say quietly. She's crying before she even speaks. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. For everything. For what I said. For what I did. For the court thing. For all of it. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect anything. I just needed to tell you that I know I was wrong. About everything. I don't say anything. I just wait. She continues, her words tumbling out. Marco left me after the court thing. He said I was useless without your money. And I got evicted from my apartment. And I had to move into a studio that's basically a closet. And I got a job at Target, just stocking shelves, because nobody would hire me for marketing with my work history. And at first, I was so angry at you. I blamed you for everything. But then I was standing in the break room at Target one day, counting my tips from helping customers load their cars, and I realized that this was the first money I'd really earned in years. Money I got by working, not by manipulating or begging or threatening. And it felt different. It felt like mine. And I realized that you weren't punishing me. You were trying to save me, and I was too stupid and selfish to see it. She's sobbing now, and I want to reach out to her, but I don't. Not yet. I don't expect you to let me back in your life, she says. I don't expect you to give me money ever again. I don't even expect you to forgive me. I just needed to say I'm sorry, and I needed to tell you that you were right. About all of it. I was using you. I was treating you like you didn't matter. And you do matter. You matter so much. I stand there in the doorway, my hand still on the frame, and I look at my daughter. Really look at her. And I see something I haven't seen in years. I see someone who's actually tired of running. Someone who's hit a wall hard enough to finally stop and look at what she's been doing. But I've been fooled before. I've seen the tears and the apologies, and then watched them evaporate the moment she got what she wanted. So I'm careful. I'm measured. I say quietly, Elena, I'm glad you're sorry. I really am. But I need you to understand that saying sorry doesn't erase 5 years of damage. It doesn't give me back the money I could have used for my own security. It doesn't take back the words you said to me. It doesn't undo the court hearing where you tried to have me declared incompetent so you could control my assets. She nods, wiping her face with her sleeve. I know I can't fix it with words. I'm not asking you to forget what I did. I'm just asking if maybe someday we could start over. Like strangers, like we're just 2 people trying to get to know each other without all the history. I think about that for a moment. Starting over. Not pretending the past didn't happen, but not letting it be the only thing that defines us going forward. Elena, I say slowly, I'm not going to give you money. Not now, not next month, not next year. That part of our relationship is over. If you want to be in my life, it has to be because you want a relationship with me, not with my bank account. Do you understand? She nods quickly. I understand. I'm not asking for money. I promise. I have a job now. It's not much, but it's mine. I'm figuring it out. I take a deep breath. And I need to see that you're really changing. Not just words, but actions. Over time, real time, months, maybe years. I need to see that you can build a life without expecting me to fund it. I need to see that you can respect boundaries. I need to see that you can show up without an agenda. She nods again, and this time I see something real in her eyes. Fear, maybe. Fear that she's lost me for good, but also determination. I can do that, she says. I want to do that. Can I call you sometimes? Just to talk? Not about money or problems or anything, just to talk? I consider it, and then I say something that surprises even me. You can call me once a week, Sunday evenings at 7, and we'll talk for as long as it feels right. But if you ask me for money, if you try to manipulate me, if you bring Marco around, the calls stop. Immediately. This is a boundary, Elena. I'm giving you a chance, but I'm protecting myself too. She's crying again, but she's smiling through the tears. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. I'll call Sunday, I promise. She turns to leave, then stops and looks back at me. Mom? I know I don't have the right to say this, but I'm proud of you for standing up to me. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. You're stronger than I ever gave you credit for. And then she walks to her car, an old, beat-up Honda that's nothing like the luxury vehicles she used to post on social media, and she drives away. I close the door and I stand in my hallway, and I realize I'm shaking. Not from fear, from something else. Hope, maybe. Cautious, careful hope that maybe my daughter is finally growing up. Sunday evening at 7, my phone rings. It's Elena. I almost don't answer, half expecting this to be another game. But I do. Hi, Mom, she says, and her voice sounds nervous. How was your week? And we talk. For 20 minutes, we talk about normal things. She tells me about her job, about a difficult customer she helped, about her tiny apartment, and how she's learning to cook simple meals because she can't afford takeout anymore. I tell her about my garden, about teaching Carlos to make flan, about the book I'm reading. It's stilted and awkward, and there are long pauses, but it's real. It's honest. And when we hang up, I feel something I haven't felt about Elena in years. I feel like maybe I'm talking to an actual person instead of a performance. The next Sunday, she calls again. And the Sunday after that, she never asks for money. She never brings up the house or inheritance or any of it. She just talks. And slowly, very slowly, I start to let my guard down just a little bit. By spring, Carlos is visiting every other week. He's teaching me how to use social media so I can see photos of his life. Though I refuse to follow Elena on anything, because I don't need to see a curated version of her world. Elena and I are still talking on Sunday evenings, and she's mentioned wanting to visit sometime, but she's waiting for me to say it's okay. I'm not ready for that yet. Maybe I will be eventually, maybe not. But I'm learning that I get to decide the pace of reconciliation. I get to protect my peace while still leaving the door open for change. In April, Thomas Morrison calls to tell me that Elena's lawyer has withdrawn all appeals related to the guardianship case. It's completely dropped. He says Elena signed a document acknowledging that I'm competent and that she has no claims to my property while I'm alive. She didn't have to do that, Thomas says. The case was already dismissed. This is her going further than required. It might mean something. I tell him I know. I'm watching, I'm seeing, but I'm not rushing. In May, I take that trip to the Grand Canyon. Carlos comes with me. We drive there in my old car, stopping at roadside diners and cheap motels, talking about everything and nothing. We stand at the rim of the canyon and look out at something so big and ancient that our little human problems feel small in comparison. Luis would have loved this, I say out loud. Carlos puts his arm around my shoulders. He's here with us, Grandma. In the things you taught me, in the stories you tell, in the way you didn't let anybody take away what he built with you. We take photos. We eat terrible tourist trap food. We laugh until our sides hurt at dumb jokes. And when we drive home, I realize that this is what I was protecting. Not just the house, not just the money, but the ability to have moments like this. The freedom to build new memories without the constant drain of someone else's crisis. The peace that comes from knowing my yes means yes, and my no means no. That's worth more than keeping the peace by destroying myself. Summer arrives. Elena calls one Sunday evening and asks, her voice small, if she could maybe come visit for an hour. Just an hour. She wants to see the house again. She wants to show me that she can be in that space without wanting to take from it. I talk to Thomas about it first. I talk to Mrs. Chen. I talk to Carlos. Everyone says the same thing. It's my choice, but if I do it, have someone else there with me. So I tell Elena yes, she can visit on Saturday afternoon, and Carlos will be there too. She seems happy about that. I'd like to see Carlos, she says. I've been a terrible mother to him. I want to try to fix that too if he'll let me. When Saturday comes, I'm nervous. I've cleaned the house even though it doesn't need it. I've baked cookies even though Elena probably won't eat them. Carlos arrives early and helps me set out lemonade and the cookies. It's going to be okay, Grandma, he says. And if it's not, I'm here. Elena arrives exactly on time. She parks on the street instead of in the driveway, like she doesn't want to assume she has the right to park close. She walks up to the door slowly, and when I open it, she smiles tentatively. Hi, Mom. Hi, Carlos. Carlos nods at her. Not cold, but not warm either. He's protecting me. She notices, and I see something cross her face. Regret, maybe. Understanding that she damaged more than just her relationship with me. We sit in the living room, the three of us, and it's awkward for the first few minutes. But then Elena starts talking. She tells Carlos she's sorry for not being the mother he deserved. She doesn't make excuses. She doesn't blame anyone else. She just owns it. I was selfish and immature, and I thought that if something didn't immediately make me happy, it wasn't worth doing. That's not how you raise a kid. That's not how you love people. I'm sorry I figured that out too late to give you the childhood you should have had. Carlos is quiet for a long moment. Then he says, I had a good childhood. Dad made sure of that. But thank you for saying that. It means something. Elena nods, wiping her eyes. Then she turns to me. Mom, I want to show you something. She pulls out her phone and opens her banking app. She turns the screen toward me. That's my account. I have $943 in it. I've been saving $20 every week from my paychecks. I'm not showing you this because I want praise or because I think it fixes anything. I'm showing you because I wanted you to see that I'm learning. I'm learning that money you earn feels different than money you take. I'm learning that having a little bit you worked for is better than having a lot that came from manipulating someone who loved you. I look at the screen, at those numbers, and I feel something crack open in my chest. Not forgiveness, exactly. Not yet, but recognition. Recognition that she's trying, that the effort is real. Elena, I say carefully, I'm glad you're learning these things, really. But you need to understand that our relationship isn't going to go back to what it was. I'm not going to be your safety net. I'm not going to be your backup plan. If we're going to have a relationship, it has to be between equals, two adults who respect each other's boundaries and don't use each other. She nods vigorously. I understand. I don't want it to go back to what it was. That wasn't real. That was me using you and calling it love. I want something different, even if it's smaller. Even if we only talk on Sundays and see each other twice a year. I want it to be real. We talk for the full hour, and when it's time for her to leave, she stands up and looks around the living room. This house is beautiful, Mom. You and Luis built something really special here. I'm sorry I tried to take it from you. I'm sorry I couldn't see that it was never about the house. It was about respecting what you built and earned. I see it now. She hugs me briefly, carefully, like she's afraid I'll pull away. I don't pull away, but I don't melt into it either. I let her hug me. That's all I can give right now, and it has to be enough. After she leaves, Carlos helps me clean up the lemonade glasses and untouched cookies. What do you think? I ask him. He considers for a moment. I think she's trying. I don't know if it'll last, but I think today was real, and maybe that's all you can ask for right now. He's right. Maybe that's all anyone can ask for. Small moments of honesty, slow rebuilding. No guarantees, just the possibility of something better if we're both willing to do the work. That night, I sit on my porch as the sun sets, and I think about the past year, the pain of closing that account, the terror of the court hearing, the slow, careful reconciliation that may or may not last, the relationship with Carlos that's become one of the greatest joys of my life, the peace of living in my own house without fear of losing it, the savings account that's growing again. The trips I'm planning, the life I'm building that's small and simple and completely mine. Luis was right. The house isn't just a house. It's security. It's dignity. It's the proof that my life meant something, that my work mattered, that I'm not just a wallet with legs. I protected it. I protected myself. And in doing so, I gave Elena the gift of consequences and the chance to become someone better. Whether she takes that chance or not isn't up to me anymore. Fall comes around again. Elena is still calling on Sunday evenings. She's still working at Target. She's been promoted to team lead, which means a little more money and a lot more responsibility. She sounds different on the phone now, more grounded, less frantic. She tells me she's started going to therapy, that she's working through why she became so dependent on external validation, why money became her measure of worth. I tell her I'm proud of her for doing that work, and I mean it. Carlos is in his junior year now, talking about graduate school, about becoming a high school history teacher. He still visits regularly, and he's brought Elena into some of our visits now. It's still careful, still boundaried, but it's something. The three of us had dinner together last month, here at my house. Elena brought flowers, Carlos made the arroz con pollo, and I watched my daughter and my grandson talk and laugh together, rebuilding a connection that had been broken by her choices. It's not perfect. It may never be perfect, but it's honest, and honest is what matters. Mrs. Chen and I are sitting on my porch one October afternoon, drinking tea and watching the leaves change colors. She asks me if I ever regret what I did, closing the account, going through the court battle, all of it. I think about it honestly. I regret that it was necessary, I say finally. I regret that Elena and I lost years to manipulation and resentment. I regret that I didn't set boundaries sooner. But do I regret protecting myself? No, not for a second. I spent so much of my life thinking that love meant sacrifice, that being a good mother meant giving until there was nothing left. But that's not love. That's martyrdom. And martyrs don't help anyone. They just teach people that some lives matter less than others. Mrs. Chen nods, squeezing my hand. You taught her the most important lesson she'll ever learn, she says. You taught her that actions have consequences, even for the people we love, especially for the people we love. I hope she's right. I hope that someday Elena will look back on this year and see it as the moment everything changed, the moment she stopped being a victim of her own choices and started being the author of her own life. In November, on what would have been Luis's 76th birthday, I go to the cemetery. I bring his favorite flowers, white roses, and I sit by his headstone for a long time. I did what you asked, I tell him out loud, not caring if anyone hears me talking to a grave. I protected the house. I protected myself. And I think maybe I protected Elena too, in a way. By finally saying no. By finally letting her fall. She's getting back up, Luis. Slowly. But she's doing it on her own feet. You'd be proud of her. And I think you'd be proud of me too. The wind rustles through the trees. And for just a moment, I swear I can feel him there. Not in a supernatural way. Just in the way that people we love stay with us. In our choices, in our strength, in the lessons they taught us. Luis taught me that real love requires boundaries, that protecting yourself isn't selfish, that the house isn't just bricks and wood. It's the symbol of a life built with purpose and dignity. I carry those lessons with me every day. Christmas is different this year. Carlos comes over and brings Amy, who I've grown to love like my own granddaughter. And I've invited Elena. She asked if she could come, promised she'd bring a dish and wouldn't stay too long, wouldn't overstay her welcome. She shows up with a simple pasta salad and a small gift, something she made herself. A framed photo of me and Luis from our wedding day that she'd found in her old things and restored. It makes me cry. Not sad tears, grateful tears. She remembered that what I value isn't expensive things. It's the pieces of my history, the evidence of the love that shaped me. We eat together at the dining room table, the four of us, and it feels like family. Not the perfect family from commercials and movies, but a real family. Messy and complicated and still healing from old wounds, but showing up for each other anyway. Carlos and Elena actually talk, really talk, about her childhood and his childhood, and the things she missed and the things she wants to do differently if she ever has more kids. It's painful and beautiful at the same time. After dinner, Carlos sets up the chessboard. He's teaching Amy to play. Elena watches and quietly asks if I could teach her too. I never learned, she says. Dad tried to teach me when I was little, but I was too impatient. I'd like to learn now, if you don't mind. So I teach my daughter how to play chess on Christmas evening, the same way Luis taught me 45 years ago. I show her that every move matters, that you have to think ahead, that protecting your king is as important as attacking your opponent, that sometimes the smartest move is the one that looks like retreat. She's not good at it yet. She makes impulsive moves and doesn't see consequences until they happen. But she's learning, and she's trying. And that's more than I had a year ago. It's late evening now, and I'm sitting in my living room after everyone has gone home. The house is quiet again, but it's a different kind of quiet than it was a year ago. Then, it was the quiet of fear and loneliness and exhaustion. Now, it's the quiet of peace, of knowing that I'm safe here, that this house is mine, that the life I built with Luis is protected, that the legacy we're leaving isn't just money or property, but the lesson that love without boundaries isn't love at all, that saying no is sometimes the most loving thing you can do, that real relationships are built on respect, not obligation. Elena texted me after she got home. Just 3 words. Thank you, Mom. I haven't responded yet. I'm sitting here thinking about what to say back, and I realize that maybe the right response is just as simple. You're welcome, sweetheart. Same time next Sunday? Because that's what we're building now. Small moments, weekly phone calls, occasional visits, a relationship that's measured not in dollars transferred or crises managed, but in honest conversations and real effort and slow, careful trust being rebuilt brick by brick. It's not the relationship I thought we'd have when I first held her as a baby and promised her the world, but it's the relationship we can actually sustain, and maybe that's worth more. The house creaks and settles around me, familiar sounds I've heard for 40 years. I think about the young couple Luis and I were when we bought this place, how we stood in this same living room on moving day and dreamed about the life we'd build here. We never imagined it would include court battles and frozen accounts and a daughter who tried to take it all away. But we never imagined I'd be strong enough to stop her either. We never imagined that at 72, I'd still be learning how to love without losing myself. We never imagined that the greatest gift I'd give my daughter would be the word no. But here I am, still in my house, still standing, still learning, still hoping. And tomorrow morning, I'll wake up in my own bed, in my own home, with my own money in my own account, and I'll make my own choices about how to spend my own day. That freedom is what I fought for. That dignity is what I protected. And I'd do it all over again, every painful moment, to get to this peace, this small, simple, hard-won peace. I look at the framed photo Elena gave me, young Luis and young me on our wedding day, holding hands and smiling like we knew all the secrets of the universe. We didn't, of course. We had no idea what was coming. The cancer, the grief, the betrayal, the courtroom, the reconciliation, none of it. But we knew one thing that carried me through all of it. We knew that what we built together mattered, that the life we created had value, that the home we made deserved to be protected. And I did protect it, for us, for Carlos, for the possibility of a future where Elena finally understands what it means to build something instead of just taking from what others built. Maybe there are other stories like this happening right now, in houses all across the country. Other mothers having to choose between their children's approval and their own survival. Other families being torn apart by entitlement and money and the refusal to let the older generation live with dignity. If anyone out there is in that place right now, standing at that crossroads, I want them to know. Saying no doesn't make you a bad mother. Setting boundaries doesn't make you selfish. Protecting what you built doesn't make you greedy. It makes you human. It makes you wise. And it might just be the thing that saves not only you, but the person you're saying no to. Sometimes love looks like an open door, and sometimes it looks like a closed bank account and a locked door until the person on the other side learns to knock with respect instead of demanding a key they never earned. If this story has touched your heart, subscribe now, leave a like, and tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. That helps us keep sharing stories of strong women, families, and the unexpected turns of life.